You know, I was one questionable ass kid. So watching my Thomas DVDs when I was little, there was something that I would sometimes think of and do in my little immature mind whenever seeing specific male and female Thomas characters in lead roles of episodes. And that something was shipping. No, not that kind of shipping, obviously. I know there's steam engines and deliver cargo and other goods to places if that's what you mean. No, I'm talking about shipping Thomas characters. You know, characters that I thought would look very cute together because little did 6 to 9-year-old me know that these were just developing thoughts in my head as a result of me being an unaware, hopeless romantic child. Yeah, super weird, right? So, in today's video, I want to mentally go back in time to my childhood for a little bit and recall some Thomas characters I used to ship as engine couples. The ones I can remember anyway. Looking back, I was quite the imaginative little brat. I've been thinking about whether or not if I actually wanted to make a video on this topic, and if I ever did, I pondered about the right time to release it. And since it's Lover's Day, aka Valentine's around this time, I decided now would be a good time now to post this video where this weird childhood shipping topic I'm talking about can blend with the whole love is in the air and not seem as cringe if I didn't release it on Valentine's. Plus, it's just a nice childhood memory I wanted to share out of pure fun. Now, these are all thoughts and opinions based solely on what I thought as a kid and have no reflection on how I feel about these characters today as an adult, which I'll also discuss while diving into these made-up couples of mine. In other words, my views on these certain characters being paired together today has changed heavily since back then, and I mean heavily. So, climb on board the love train and let's get rolling. Number 1. Thomas and Lady. So one Thomas VHS I used to rerun all the time as a kid was, of course, Magic Railroad. The chase scene with Lady, Thomas, and Diesel 10 would always hype me up, and Thomas and Lady outrunning Diesel 10 and defeating him at the end was quite a moment of victory. However, that wasn't the only way little me saw it as. Watching this scene and the scene afterwards of Thomas and Lady beside each other made it also appear pretty romantically heroic to me. And by heroic, I mean I saw it as Thomas doing a brave thing for Lady, and that's when I started shipping them. Thomas being behind Lady during the whole chase to make sure Diesel 10 didn't get near her, and then crossing the collapsing viaduct, making sure it's unstable enough for Diesel 10 to fall so he wouldn't catch them, was really badass to me as a child. And it made me picture these two as an intimate couple for some strange reason. In my head, it sort of fell into this whole girl is in trouble with villain, hero guy stops the villain and gets the girl in the end kind of trope. Plus, I think it was also the fact that they're both little engines, and Lady's smaller than Thomas, much like how with most couples the guy is taller than the girl, not to mention her being a female engine in the first place. Side note, but I sometimes would picture her gold details as jewelry. Okay, I was a silly kid for thinking all this, I know. Reminiscing back though, I had some funny memories shipping these two. Like how it would create action hero and romance stories with my Thomas and Lady wooden railway toys, or reenact the chase scene with them while it was playing on the TV. I didn't have a wooden railway Diesel 10, sadly. As for now, do I still ship these two many years later today? Well, kinda yes, probably. It really depends on how one sees their relationship. It could be that, or it could be where Lady is like a magical mentor to Thomas, or like how most fans see it, it could be where Lady is some sort of mystical, mysterious spirit of Sodor in the genre of myth or legend, and Thomas only hears about her in a story or sees her in a dream via calling all engines. After all, Lady isn't an official main Sodor character and is only seen very rarely, so it's hard to say if she's really canon to the Sodor universe. Also, the dream sequence in Calling All Engines made me kind of ship them as well, seeing how Lady was there to help Thomas and give advice, and it shows him smiling as he's dreaming, like little me thought it was so cute, OMG. But anyway, yeah, they could be shipped or they could be connected in other ways. Again, it's up to one's interpretation. Number 2, Thomas and Emily. Yeah, you all knew this one was coming. However, I want to half count this one. Let me explain. Growing up with the hit era, if there's one thing that always stuck with me in childhood, it was that there was not a moment where I didn't ship these two. I don't know, I guess it's that when it came to their episodes, them bickering and being paired up in per se Halloween or Thomas Emily in the Snow made it seem kind of like they like each other in a way. Especially in the latter where Thomas is pretending to not hear Emily telling him to put on his snowplow. I always saw it as him teasing with her, which he was, but in a cheeky way, whereas I saw it differently. Not to mention there were times where Emily would make Thomas laugh at the end, which was nice.
I am learning patience, but if only I could learn it faster. Thomas had to laugh. But next time, if you want to stay out of trouble, just do what I say. Even Thomas had to laugh.
But I think what mostly did it was Emily's new route, where the two are at Blacklock watching the seals Emily discovered earlier, as well as the deleted scene of them watching the red balloon fly into the sunset in the music video Patience is a Virtue. Fun fact, I used to imagine that if they were humans, like teens or whatnot, they would be sitting on a hill somewhere watching the balloon in that scene and he would be putting his arm around her or something. Not to mention other fan content like artwork, fanfics, and videos made me enjoy the ship a lot more in later years. As I said though, I want to half include this one for a bit later after that shipping phase. I then saw the two in a big sister little brother relationship. Rewatching episodes like Thomas, Emily, and the Snow as an older kid, them arguing went from cute looking to mocking sibling-like mannerisms. You know, like how real life sisters and brothers fight. That's where I want to segue into my thoughts of the two of them today. I still think of them as this sibling bond, albeit now more as Emily showing motherly examples to Thomas as well as a big sister. As we all see her, Emily really does sort of appear as an older female relative to the Engines, and I think this way is more fitting for her than her being a romantic status for them. As a love interest to Thomas, though, I don't see it like that anymore. Sorry, but those Thomas times Emily days, as sweet as they were, are well behind me. Number 3, Thomas and Rosie. Okay, this is the last ship involving Thomas on the list, I promise. This couple I was shipped for one solid reason. Rosie was basically portrayed as the girl version of Thomas at one point. I mean, come on, she was a tank engine, she was cheeky and young, only she was pink and was a girl as opposed to Thomas who was blue and a boy. Let's just get that out of the way. Season 12 was the season that introduced me to Rosie with the DVD High Speed Adventures. When I first bought this DVD, I was already excited looking at the front cover and seeing Rosie beside Thomas. It didn't help how she was smiling while looking at him, as it reminded me of how a lead female, particularly a romantic partner, would smile at the main male lead in movie posters. Then I watched the episodes and was kind of disappointed that their episodes were separate and neither one was in the other's story. Keep in mind at this point I hadn't seen Thomas in the birthday mail yet, so I never knew that they had an episode together before then. The whole time I thought, man, they would look so cute together. Only to be ecstatic when the DVD Splish Splash Splosh released and they had an episode together. Little 9-year-old me was overjoyed to see them side by side. Honey, when I tell you I shipped them all throughout the episode. And eventually when I did see Thomas in the birthday mail, I adored the whole premise of Rosie liking Thomas a lot and wanting to copy him, as I viewed it as her crushing, if you will. Though her following him, I now see as admittedly a little wild. I even liked their slight pairings later on in episodes like Stuck on You and Sodor Surprise Day. I was a big Thomas times Rosie fan. Old fan videos on YouTube I watched back then made the feeling stronger, as I saw I wasn't the only one with these opinions on this ship.
Has anyone seen The Happy Couple?
Hey, Richard and Judy?
No, Thomas and Rosie.
Go on, Rosie. Who you have a crush on?
Thomas.
Why Thomas?
Because he's handsome, gorgeous, and he's my number one.
Of course I knew, or at least thought, this would never be a real thing in the show. So imagine my absolute shock when the show released an episode years later called Rosie is Red, making them being shipped together officially canon. It still blows my mind that actually happened. So, do I still ship them today? Surprisingly, no. Like Thomas and Emily, now I see the two as an older, younger relative type thing, only vice versa. Thomas being a big brother figure to Rosie, or dare I say, even a father figure almost. I guess you could say her wanting to be like him is her way of looking up to him or being inspired by him, much like how a little sister is inspired by her big brother. You know, something of that sweet mutual relationship. Bottom line, I may not ship them anymore now, but there was certainly a time where I saw these two as the ultimate tank engine power couple. Number 4, James and Emily. I believe the reason I shipped James and Emily briefly was not only because of the obvious fact that they were both medium-sized tender engines, but they were paired quite a lot in the hit and nitrogen eras. You know, unintentionally. Whether one was the main role and the other a side role, or them in side roles together, or them being shown together in a shot of an episode or something. I don't think this is a bad ship per se. It'd honestly be pretty cute actually. But much like with Thomas, I see her as a sibling to James. Like they're both middle siblings together in a big family type of way. Do I still ship them today? No, but I never really shipped them that much in the first place either. It just mostly stemmed off of seeing them together in episodes here and there. Besides, I feel James and Molly would be a better pairing as opposed to him and Emily. What do you guys think? Are we feeling the jolly ship or what? Number 5, Toby and Flora. This is the last one I vaguely remember from childhood. This one is pretty easy to figure out why it was one of my ships. Toby and Flora are both trams for starters, but it's also from how the two interact in this only episode of Flora's. When I was young seeing the episode Tram Trouble, one of the things that I always found pretty funny was Toby's reaction to first seeing Flora behind Thomas. The way his eyes go wide as he loudly asks who Flora is made me chuckle as a girl.
Who's that?
Humana, 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 humana. Who is this?
Another nice part of their interaction was Toby being happy with Flora as her new tramway coach is unveiled at Great Waterton, and how they led the parade of engines together. It was probably these little moments of them meeting and sharing this episode that made them appear as a neat duo to me, which in actuality, Toby and Flora were really just good new friends at the end, and also adding the fact that this was Flora's only role ever before vanishing. But if Flora still appeared in the show in CGI, would I still think her and Toby would look cool together? Well, I know the answer to that is not very hard to guess, as I'm sure we can all come to a true agreement on who Toby's actual faithful partner is. As I grew later into my teens, I moved on from my shipping phase. Now as an adult, having a grown, mature mindset, I acknowledge that me shipping Thomas characters back in the day was weird for sure, but also showed that when it comes to your youth, you want to explore and learn more about things and emotions while you're growing up, and kids around that growing age are trying to figure out the basics of romance and affection. For example, when one gets their first crush, or in this instance, thinking that a certain male and female character in a show or movie would go great as a couple. Which is suffice to say that there's nothing wrong with that. As I said, it's all a part of being young and discovering new feelings about life. So, remembering this shipping habit I did back in the day becomes quite comical to think back on when I realize it was all just harmless fun. As I said in the beginning, I had a huge imagination as a kid. That and plus a lot of mostly innocent issues. Speaking from nowadays though, my shipping days are long gone. Although, seeing how there was a married couple named Mavis and Oliver who were neighbors of the Audrey family, considering that's who they were named after, perhaps we could ship Oliver and Mavis next, maybe? Nah, I'm just kidding. Or am I? Have any of you ever shipped Thomas characters before, or still do? If so, who's your favorite non-canon ship? If you don't ship any of these characters, trust me, I totally understand. This is all just goofy fan fun. Also, what are y'all's plans for this Valentine's? Sound off down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you can, make sure to share some love to your partner, friends, or family this Valentine's. Let them know how special they are to you. Hope y'all enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care.